Everyone's been waiting for a housing market crash to hit Gig Harbor, but what actually might be coming may be a lot worse. And this isn't anything that moves fast. This is a slow, subtle transition that if you're not paying attention, it could totally trap homeowners and blindside buyers. So they really have to keep their eyes open as to what is going on in the economy and in the market. And the threat is not housing prices dropping. It's not that at all. It's affordability collapsing while the housing prices will likely remain flat. So let's get into this video. And first, let me introduce myself. My name is Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor and I am managing broker of the Rivers Group. We have been at this for nearly a decade now, and we have helped hundreds and hundreds of families relocate to Gig Harbor, sell in Gig Harbor. In 8 years, we got 600 homes sold or bought, both sides of that. So kind of know what we're talking about. And this video is to help inform you as to what is going on currently in this market and traps that we don't want you to fall into. Here's what makes Gig Harbor a lot different than most other markets in Western Washington, and it's the fact that we are geographically constrained in the way that most cities aren't. We have the Tacoma Narrows Bridge just to the east of us, which isolates us from Tacoma. It doesn't isolate it. Obviously, we have access to it, but there's the bridge to contend with and a bridge toll that you have to deal with. Going up north, you have the Puget Sound that separates us from Seattle. So you either take the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, go through Tacoma and drive up that way, or you go up to the Bremerton area, catch one of the ferries in Kitsap County, and get over to Seattle that way. Gig Harbor is really like a big peninsula. There's the Key Peninsula, which is that for sure, but we also sit on what is called the Kitsap Peninsula, because we're going to throw a map up right here so we can get a good idea of what we're talking about. Gig Harbor is actually in Pierce County, but it borders Kitsap County, and we're the only part of Pierce County that is on this side of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. So we're actually sit on the Kitsap Peninsula, which is just surrounded by water. So we are a little bit landlocked. Now there's bridges that get you over to Port Townsend. You can get down to Shelton. You can take ferries or go over the bridge to get over to Seattle, but there's always some sort of constraint there that isolates us, unlike other places in the Puget Sound area. So what does that mean exactly? It means that we don't really have any sprawl value here. I mean, yes, we have some land that's available and things like that, but when the demand shifts, well, where else are we going to go unless you completely relocate to a different area? So that's what we really want to look at and talk about in this video. So what do you know? Lo and behold, we had another audio problem. So obviously, the issue has not been resolved yet, so there's going to be a few more clips with me dressed up in my old Painter's shirt and my kid's Little League baseball shirt. This thing's like 15 years old because my kids are now adults. So anyway, so that's why it looks a little different, but I want to redo these clips so you guys get clear and accurate information. So here you go with a few clips, and this is going to be kind of hodgepodged in and throughout the video, so I apologize for that, but hopefully it'll flow pretty good. So we're going to talk about how affordability can really break down and how it can affect certain pockets of Gig Harbor much differently than other pockets of Gig Harbor. And that's what this is all about. Just so if you're looking or you're a homeowner currently, your eyes are wide open as to what you're getting into. So get this, right now, currently, the average price point, sale price point for a home in Gig Harbor is $1,039,000. Now that is up from what our average had previously been, which was around $900,000. So, it's an average. Maybe last month there was a couple really big listings that sold that helped that average go up. But right now we're looking at $1,039,000 as the average sales price. Get this, that is over 60% of what the national average is. It's crazy how housing prices vary so greatly in different parts of the country. But this is the West Coast, and the West Coast tends to have higher home prices, especially compared to places like the Midwest and things like that. It's just home prices and real estate cost more out here than it does in other parts of the country. There are other parts that are super expensive as well, but we're definitely on that. So over the last year, home prices have not really changed very much. I mean, according to the stats, they've dropped 1.4%, which is really, really insignificant over the last year. I mean, we're basically basically got a very flat level market. We still have a shortage of inventory. We have about 2.4 months worth of inventory. And what that means is if no homes went on the market from this day going forward, after 2.4 months, all the homes would be sold and there would be nothing left on the market. They say a balanced market is about 4 to 6 months. So it would take 4 to 6 months for all the inventory to go taken up or bought. So we are, according to the numbers, in a seller's market. It's not acting like a seller's market. It's acting more like a balanced market. So that's what's really interesting what's going on right now. Now, on the flip side of that, if we had more than 6 months worth of inventory, which means we have a lot of supply and not as much demand, well, then you're in a buyer's market and the buyers would have a lot more power. So at least, the 4 to 6 months worth of inventory for a balanced market, that's at least what the textbook said. The really interesting thing is even though, according to the numbers, and seller's market, it's not behaving like a seller's market. Buyers are being very cautious. Buyers are coming in with lower offers. They're asking for lots of concession. Average time on the market is a lot longer. So things are sitting there on the market a lot longer for the most part. Now, I've had a few listings that I get 3 offers in the first weekend, but they're here and there, hit and miss, and they're a total case-by-case basis. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for it. I have other listings that have been on the market for 6 weeks, and I would have thought that they would have sold in the first weekend. And then, like I said, I have listings that I got 3 offers on the first weekend, and they were listings that I thought would take a while to sell. So it's a strange market. All my colleagues are saying it's a strange market. There's really no good predictability about it. There are some things that are predictable, which is what we're getting into, but just know it's a total case-by-case basis on every single home, and it's unique. And anybody that gives you the crystal ball kind of stuff, take it with a grain of salt, because right now we're in a strange time. So we're going to look into 10 different warning signs that is going to suggest that we're indifferent than what's just a little bit of a temporary slowdown. We're going to face what's called an affordability crisis. And we're going to talk about what the affordability of that really means. And if you get caught by one of these things, you may actually get stuck where you're at in a bad investment. So make sure you stick around for all 10, because the number one that I'm going to talk about is the one that's most likely going to sneak up and bite somebody and they won't even see it coming. So first on my list, and number 10, because we're going to count backwards, is stagnation in the market, and it's masking deeper problems. Homes right now are on the market 3 to 4 times longer than they were just a year ago. Those sellers are sitting there impatiently waiting for their home to sell. Buyers are hesitant to make any offers or really go after anything. And let's talk about the underlying issue here is homes value has not really increased over the last couple of years. This is not the COVID days where you're getting 20% appreciation every year. I mean, that wasn't sustainable anyway. So right now, prices are flat, but the affordability of that home continues to go up. Property taxes go up. Insurance is really going up. The maintenance on your home is going up. Everything costs more. Labor is more. Parts are more. Everything is more expensive than it used to be, but the value of your home is not going up at all, but all the expenses are. So right now, your home isn't really building any equity at all. I mean, if you bought in 2018, 19, and 20, you gained a lot of equity until about 2023. But if you bought in 2024 or 25, you haven't really gained much equity. Now, there's benefits, tax write-offs, things like that, of course. So I'm not going to say home ownership is a bad idea. I think it's the greatest idea in the world. I mean, homeowners on average are 44% wealthier than renters. Homeowners on average have a net worth of over $300,000, where renters have a net worth of less than $10,000. So homeownership is definitely the way to go, but you cannot expect right now to build the equity like we were building a few years ago. And for those that were expecting the market to climb the way it had, who bought in 2024, 2025, the math just isn't adding up. There are currently 332 homes on the market in Gig Harbor, which is more than we've had in a long time. And what does that tell us? It tells us that homes are just overpriced, or there is no sense of urgency by buyers, or a combination of both. So how do you protect yourself if you're a home buyer and you're looking ahead? Like maybe you're here for 3 or 5 years and you want to buy a home, but you're looking ahead and just seeing if the math is going to work for you on purchasing now, because it costs money to sell a house, right? Are you going to gain the appreciation over those 3 to 5 years to make it worth it? And that's where the fundamentals really come into play. And you really need to concentrate on the neighborhoods with good economic fundamentals. These type of things include access to the freeway, good proximity for the community, commuters out there, school district, the neighborhood overall, what your neighbors look like. If this is a highly desired place, is it a really unique home where you're only going to have a small demographic that would be interested in it? Or is it more of a traditional home that'll be appealing to the mass? How close is it to all the amenities that you need to get to? Shopping, school bus stops, things like that. You got to look at all of those things because those things come into play in people's everyday lives, and they are a big factor when people are considering purchasing a home. So if you're purchasing a home now, really pay attention to all those things just for setting yourself up for success for the future. Now, if you're truly buying your forever home and you're going to be in it for the next 20, 30 years, well, these aren't nearly as big of a deal. But if you think you might be needing to move on to something different in 3, 5, 7 years, these are important things to look at, and that is the value of your home moving forward, not just today. So that leads me to number 9, which is the widening gap between winning and losing neighborhood. Not all of Gig Harbor is slowing down, and knowing where your property sits on that line is a big deal. And this is an example of a K-shaped market. But check this out. Gig Harbor North is actually appreciating at 5.1% over the last year, whereas the rest of Gig Harbor is down 1.4% over the last year. So there are certain neighborhoods that are still really desired and that are actually appreciating, even in this weird market of uncertain times that we're in. The other extreme of the spectrum is Fox Island. Over the last year, average home price is down 15%. And this is only a few miles away, and it's all basically Gig Harbor. So depending what pocket you're in, what neighborhood you're choosing, you could have been in one where you appreciated 5%, or you could have been in one that went down 15%, at least according to the numbers. You know how big that difference is? We're talking a 6-figure swing in value from Gig Harbor North to Fox Island. It's just crazy. And what I believe that probably is economic anchor point that Gig Harbor North has versus Fox Island. Gig Harbor North is so convenient. It is close to the hospital. It is close to the freeway. It is close to all the shopping, Costco and Target, Home Depot, YMCA. All of that stuff is right there. Almost brand new elementary school, Swiftwater is right there. All the kids walk to. Fox Island is pretty isolated. It takes a while to get to the freeway. It takes a while to get to the grocery store. It takes a while to get to your kid's school. So it's just further away. Economically, it doesn't make quite as much sense convenience-wise as Gig Harbor North. Now, I want to be really, really clear on this. This is just averages and what the statistics say. Fox Island is a great place to live, and you may very well want that kind of environment. You want to be a little bit more off the beaten path. You want a little bit more privacy. You want a little bit more nature. You don't want to be in the hustle bustle of tract homes and shopping centers and things like that. So if that's what you're looking for, it's a great area. Just know that for the masses, at least over the last year, the demand has stayed higher in Gig Harbor North than on Fox Island. Number 8 on my list is what I call the mortgage golden handcuffs. And what this means is people are simply stuck in their low interest rate. So here's what happened. Back in COVID, as we all know, interest rates were at an historical low, 2.5%, 3%, something like that. So if you bought a home during that time, you're at this super, super low rate. And if you bought previous to that, you likely refinanced so you could get into a super low rate like that. So studies suggest that 80% of mortgages are less than 4% interest rate. So gosh, the vast majority of people have these super low interest rates. And if they want to move, they're going to have to trade in that low interest rate of 2.5%, 3%, 80% of them are less than 4% for what we have going right now, which is 6.5%, 6.75%, things like that. And they're simply stuck in the low payment they have now and can't afford the new payment that they would get at that high rate. So what are those golden handcuffs really causing? And here's what they're causing. They're causing people to prevent moving. So in the past, if there was a small life change or just, maybe they just kind of wanted to relocate or just change their environment, whatever it may be, people would sell their house and move to a new house. Well, now they can't afford to do that. They can't afford to do it as easily because interest rates are double from what they were about 4 or 5 years ago. Now, life still happens, right? People still have babies and their families grow. People unfortunately get divorced and they need to sell. People pass away. There's all the things. I call it the 3 Ds: death, divorce, and and diapers, right? And then you can throw in their job relocation. So life still happens, which causes people to need to sell their homes and move somewhere else and buy a new one. It's just a lot less than it was 4 or 5 years ago because people don't have the freedom to do it just on a whim. It has to be a very calculated thing. So for buyers out there that are making the move, this is at the top of their mind frame, and they are being super, super, super picky. I mean, they really are. So if they are going to commit to a move, they're going to be very, very particular to make sure that they're making the right move for them, because it's going to cost them a lot of money, especially in their monthly budget with this new interest rate that we're at compared to where we were a few years ago. So while we're talking about different pockets of Gig Harbor, let me throw up a couple QR codes for you. So this QR code right here, this is going to be the relocation guide. So you can download this and it goes through all the different neighborhoods, all the highlights of the neighborhoods, the features they have to offer, the locations of them, things like that. And then over here, we'll put on this QR code, my neighborhood quiz. So you can take that quiz and it might help you narrow down what kind of neighborhood you're looking for or what area might be best for you. And then you can reference the relocation guide, blend that information together and see what it comes up with. Please feel free to reach out to us. And by the way, all of my information is going to be right here. We help people all the time, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families relocate to Gig Harbor, and we'd be happy to help you out too. All right, moving on to number 7, and that is first-time home buyers are simply being priced out. I bought my first house in 1996. I was 23 years old. I made $28,000 that year, and I bought a house for $140,000 and put 20% down with the help of my parents. They helped me out with the down payment because I was just fresh out of college and I had like no money. Well, I look today at these kids, my kids that are just getting out of college and starting their life. You know, average price points, at least here in Gig Harbor, close to $1 million, over $1 million. How does a 24, 25-year-old kid afford that? Well, statistics say that they don't. You know what the age of the first-time home buyer is nowadays in the United States of America? It's almost 40 years old. 39 years old is the average age of a first-time home buyer. My oldest son has been out of college for about 18 months now. He got a job right out of college and he's doing well, and that's great, but he is starting to think about purchasing a home. And when we're looking at homes and we're talking about what kind of down payment he has and what his monthly budget is and what kind of house payment he would be, I look at these numbers and I just don't see how kids have a chance of doing it right now. It's just so expensive to get into a first-time home. They don't have any built-up savings. They don't have any equity from a previous home, obviously, that they can put into a new home. I mean, they're just starting from scratch, and it's so expensive for first-time home buyers, which is why the age is so high now, because it takes them that long to accumulate that kind of savings to where they can affordably get into a home. So that is why it is ultra, ultra important to really pay attention to what you're getting into, especially as first-time home buyers, because this is the biggest investment of your life and you need to do it right. So whenever your family grows or you want to upgrade or you're starting to make more money down the road and you just want a nicer place, that you got into a place initially in a smart way where the home actually does appreciate and you can gain some equity out of it, sell that, take those proceeds and put it towards your new home and not continue to be behind the 8 ball time after time after time, because that is not sustainable. Number 6 on my list is the infrastructure in and around Gig Harbor and what is coming, what is already here, what needs to be improved upon, the whole 9 yards, because these will really create winners and losers as far as neighborhoods go. And let me give you some examples of some infrastructure. And so you remember a few minutes ago, I was talking about Fox Island and how Fox Island has actually had a depreciation in value over the recent past. So not much, but a little bit, right? Well, one of the reasons that this might be going on, is because of the Fox Island Bridge and the rumors going around about what needs to be done to it. So Fox Island Bridge is a 2-lane bridge that goes to Fox Island. It's working just fine. It's been there for years. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people use it every single day. Cement trucks go over it, propane trucks go over it, fire trucks go over it, moving trucks go over it. Everybody goes over it, but it is supposedly nearing the end of its life and they are looking looking at ways to replace it. Now, here's the thing. There is no definitive plan yet. There's been some environmental impact studies starting to happen. There's been debates as to how it's going to be paid for, but nothing is determined yet. So I get clients asking me all the time, worried about this bridge and if, there's going to be a toll on it, or if just the citizens of Fox Island are going to be taxed on it, things like that. And there's a lot of unknowns about it. So that's an example of how the infrastructure or lack thereof may affect certain pockets of Gig Harbor. On the other end of the spectrum is Gig Harbor North. Now, look at Gig Harbor North. The prices have gone up, right? They've appreciated in value about 5%. And part of that is because the infrastructure has kept up with what's going on there. They have widened the roads. They have added the roundabouts. All the amenities are in Gig Harbor North. They all got built about 15 years ago. So we have a hospital there, Costco, Home Depot, YMCA. We have virtually a brand new elementary school. We have new sports fields, sport complex for all the kids, huge pickleball court complex, all right there in Gig Harbor North. And it's super close access to the freeway. So this is an example of where the infrastructure actually kept up with the development of the area, and it is in high demand because of all the conveniences of it, and that is a pocket that has grown. Number 5 on my list is that construction costs are simply outpricing the middle market. Construction costs are through the roof. That includes materials and labor. So listen to these statistics. In Washington State, the average cost to build a home is $309 a square foot. And so that translates to an average cost of over $690,000. And that is just for the structure all by itself. That doesn't even include the land. You are not buying the land yet. This is just the building costs of the house itself. The national median for construction costs on a home is $428,000. So we are at 61% above the national median price for construction costs. Now let's bring the land in. You know what the median price for land is in Pierce County? $286,000 per lot. And then you have all the fees that go with it. You have the permitting fees and the feasibility studies and running power to it and water and all of those things. These costs really add up. Pierce County in 2026 raised their permit fees by 15%, and in 2027 they're going to raise them by another 10%. So you do the math on this. Add all this together. You're near $700,000 on a build. You're near $300,000 on the land. You're thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into the feasibility study and running power and internet and sewer, or putting in a septic system, running public water and the cost of that hookup, or putting in a well. You're at over $1 million for the median home new build in Gig Harbor, and you haven't even put in a lawn yet. So those of you that want to move to the area and buy a piece of land and build your own home, you're probably not a first-time home buyer. You're probably not on a tight budget because it takes time and money. And here's the other thing is you're spending money while it's being built. All the while, you're still living somewhere else. So you're paying that mortgage or paying that rent or whatever it may be while you have the construction costs of the new build going on. That's why so many people end up not being able to do a custom home, is they just can't afford to do both at the same time. You look for homes that are already established. You look for homes that have already been built. Now, you can look for newer homes that have all the new systems so you don't have to do any updates or, system upgrades or anything like that. And those are definitely be more affordable, but that was just something I want to throw out there. If you're looking to build a new home, you're probably in the luxury home market. You're probably not a first-time home buyer, and you probably have a very secure budget. And good for you if you're like that. It's just not going to be for everybody. The number 4 item that I want to talk about is really with economic status and relocation for workers to this area. So guess who the biggest employer in Gig Harbor is? It's St. Anthony's Hospital. It's a fairly new hospital. It's been around 15 years or so it's not brand new. But 20 years ago, whenever I built the house that I'm currently in, it didn't exist. You had to go to Tacoma or up to Bremerton, Silverdale area for any kind of big hospital healthcare. Well, now we have our own hospital here, and it is our biggest employer in Gig Harbor. And no coincidence, it's in Gig Harbor North. Well, which is the neighborhood that we talked about with the appreciation over the last couple years? Gig Harbor North. Why is that? It's super convenient for all the employees employees to have just a really easy commute, even walk to work, ride their bike to work, or just have a couple minute drive if they're in the Gig Harbor North area, as compared to the neighborhood that has suffered the most, which is Fox Island, which is the furthest away from in the Gig Harbor area from St. Anthony's Hospital. I am finding this to be an enormous factor for many of my clients, is the convenience of where their home is located. And obviously, most of us go to work more than we do anything else. So that's your biggest item when you're talking about commute time. And if your commute could only be 5 or 10 minutes versus a half hour, and you're getting an equal quality home and equal quality kind of space and all that stuff, and it's that much more convenient. Plus you have all the conveniences of the school and the shopping and the YMCA and all those things. No wonder people are relocating to Gig Harbor North. It's closest to the #1 employer, is closest to all of the shopping and conveniences, is closest to freeway access for those that commute to other parts of the area for work. And so it makes sense why people are going, and it makes sense why the demand stays high in that area and why that area has appreciated the way that it has. Number 3 is your property tax assessment. Now, so get this, Gig Harbor has an average higher price point than other towns in our area. So property tax is a percentage. So then your property tax is going to be higher than if you were living in more affordable places, right? So that comes into your monthly budget, especially if it's tied to your mortgage payment, or if you pay it on your own. You get the little postcard from the county every year with what your new assessment is, and you can pay it all at once, or you can pay it twice a year. That's how most places work. But property tax, how often do you see it go down? Now, mine actually went down by $50, 50 whole dollars. It was not a life-changing event by any means, but it was the first time in my 21 years in my home that my property tax actually went down. And the other thing to keep in mind is, yes, it's based on a percentage of the assessed value, but what it does not take into account is all the levies and things that are voted on by the citizens for whether it be a school project, or the fire department wants a new fire station, or the police department wants this, or the parks department wants that. Whatever it may be, they ask for levies to be added on to the property tax. Now, those are not permanent, but they always are coming up. There'll be a levy that will raise money for a project at the fire department, and then 3 or 4 years later, they'll probably need something else, and they're going to ask for another one. So those are always coming to us voters and property owners to add on to our property tax. And sometimes they get passed through, sometimes they don't. Now listen, I know I'm throwing you a lot of information in this, and it's kind of hodgepodge and mixed all over the place. And it's because we're in a really complex time with the market, with the economy, with everything going on in the world, with the political environment that we're in and all the uproar, whatever side of the aisle you may be on. Everybody is up in arms about something. So we're in this time of uncertainty. So this video it's a hodgepodge of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff I'm throwing at you. So book a call with me. Seriously, if you want to talk about what's really going on in the market and have a one-on-one conversation and get my perspective of what I'm seeing in the market, because we're active in the market every single day. We are in August now. We have sold over 61 homes so far this year. So we are doing this with clients multiple times a week, every week. So give us a call. And let's have a chat, and we can see what we can do for you. Number 2 on my list, and this one is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and that is the cost and availability of homeowners insurance. In the past, I always thought it had been super reasonable. I mean, you live in $1 million home and you pay less than $1,000 a year for homeowners insurance. I mean, that's a pretty good bargain. But insurance companies, they are about making money, of course. That's what everybody does business for, so I'm not knocking that at all. But they have taken their hits in different places across the country, especially with all the fires going on in the West Coast, hurricanes in the Southeast, all of those things. Insurance companies have taken some big hits, and so they're being much more cautious on what they're going to write policies for. So, for example, most insurance companies, if you're a home buyer and the roof is over 15 years old, they may not want to insure it. And here's another, this one doesn't make any sense to me, but if you're a home buyer and you are buying a house and that house had a claim claim on it, say 5 years ago, which was taken care of. Maybe they had a plumbing leak and it caused some damage, and that homeowner at that time filed a claim, had it repaired, everything's good to go, but that home has a previous claim on it. You, as a new home buyer, are going to have a higher rate on that home because of its past history. Also, if you have had claims on something from the past, you had a home somewhere before that you had a claim on, and now you're coming into a new home, they're going to follow you. They're going to see that you have had a claim, so they're going to deem you as higher risk, and your insurance premiums are going to be higher. So I have a very, very good friend of mine. His name is Adrian Heidel. He is my insurance broker. He owns H&K Insurance. He is a wealth of information, and I would highly recommend that I connect you with him to talk about all things insurance. He can shop around different companies to get you the best rates and fees. He's been a fantastic resource for me. And insurance is a big, big deal, especially first-time home buyers where you're really on a budget and you're coming in, and if you're buying an older home with an older roof or older systems or a house that has had a claim on it, just your insurance might make it unaffordable for your budget. So these are things that we look into right away. We can even put contingencies in your offer to make sure that your insurance is affordable to you. And if it's not, then it's a way out of the deal, so you're not committed that way. Lots of things to look into in insurance. It's a really, really big deal. It's become a much bigger deal over the last couple of years, and it's probably going to continue to stay that way. And the number one thing that I want to talk about is the demographic cliff that is coming our way. The single biggest threat to your home's value is not interest rates, it's not cost of living, it's who's going to be there to buy your home in 10 years when you want to sell it. This is the biggest thing that people are missing these days, and it is the most structural thing of anything on this list. So here's what the National Association of Realtors data says, and that is first-time home buyers are almost 40 years old now, and they make up 21% of all the buyers out there. Well, that's down from 24% from just a year ago. Now, keep in mind that the National Association of Realtors have been keeping track of these stats since 1981. And millennials a year ago made up 29% of the market, and now they're only at 26% of the market. Baby boomers represent 42% of the buyers out there, and get this, they represent 55% of the sellers. So the math isn't adding up. So what's actually happening out there is people are aging out of their homes and they're moving on, but the problem is we don't have the replacement to come into those homes. These are first-time home buyers. The affordability is not there. They can't afford it because of how housing prices had gone up so dramatically during the COVID days. And so there's not a balance, right? People are moving on, moving out of their homes, and there's nobody to come in and replace them. Not nobody, but just less people. So therefore, the demand is not as high as the supply. I'm going to read a quote from you here. It's from Dr. Jessica Lantz. She is the National Association of Realtors Deputy Chief Economist. And her quote is, "The housing market remains sharply divided between homeowners with equity and first-time buyers trying to break in." So that's where our gap is simply that. It's just that the people are exiting and the people that are there to replace them don't add up to that number. Hence, we're in a flat market. Hence, the affordability of the market is not as great as it was a few years ago. Now, things shift. Times are going to change. Things are going to shift again. There's going to be another upswing. But right now, it's not that the housing market prices are crashing. It's just that the affordability of everything is more than it is harder. It's the affordability is less than it used to be. So I'm going to wrap this up here and just know that unlike a crash, this is not a housing market crash by any means. Crashes happen quick. They're rapid. They're dramatic. All of a sudden, there's every other home on your street is for sale and things like that. That is not this at all. But this is a slow trend that's going to develop over time. And if you're not careful about where you're looking and where you buy, you can get trapped and stuck. Again, this isn't going to apply to somebody that's looking for a long-term purchase. 20, 30 years in a home, you're going to be just fine. But if it's somewhere that you're going to be maybe only 5 years and then you plan on having a family and want to upgrade or expand your space, or, you're here for a temporary job project for a few years and then you're going to be moving on to something else. That's where you got to be really mindful of what you're getting into and predict the future, because this is a huge investment. You want to make sure that your investment is a wise one and that you're protecting your pocket. pocket. So again, everybody, my name is Darren Rivers. I am the Northwest Realtor, and I am managing broker of the Rivers Group. And a whole disclaimer for this whole video, okay? I am not an economist. I am not. I read the reports, I go to conferences, I go to seminars, I do all of those things, but that's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is buying and selling homes, but I have to use this information to help guide people and point them to resources so they know exactly what they're getting into. And this part of me making this video is an educational thing for me as well, really diving into what is going on so I can help guide people to sound decisions. And that is my job, is to be your advocate and be your fiduciary and make sure that you are getting into exactly what you want in a responsible way. So anyway, again, all of my information is right here. Please feel free to reach out to my team at any time. We'd be happy to be a resource for you with this subject, any other subject that's going on, and you guys have a great day.